Hi everyone, welcome to this educational resource about equality and diversity. This resource has been developed at the University of Glasgow at the School of Life Sciences. It has been supported by Athena Swan and funded by the Wellcome Trust. This resource has been developed by 3 staff members, Dr. Nicola Veitch, Dr. Stuart White, and Dr. Victoria Patterson, who are all co-chairs of Athena Swan, furthermore by 6 student interns, Sonia, Declan, Lara, Jack, Holly, and myself, Anna Maria. In this video, Holly is going to give you an introduction about the 9 protected characteristics that are embedded in the Equality Act 2010.
How does the law address equality, and what are your rights and protections in the workplace from discrimination as you enter a career in life science? Employers of all sizes and all sectors have to comply with equality legislation to make the workplace a fair environment. Under the Equality Act 2010, everyone is protected from discrimination, harassment, or victimisation based on any one of their protected characteristics in the workplace and beyond. There are 9 protected characteristics under the Equality Act. These are age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage and civil partnership, pregnancy and maternity, race, religion or belief, sex, and sexual orientation. Let's have a look first at the 3 main types of unlawful behaviour under the Act. Direct discrimination is when someone is treated less favourably than others because of either a protected characteristic that they themselves possess, and this is known as ordinary direct discrimination, a protected characteristic of someone that they're associated with, that is direct discrimination by association, or a protected characteristic that they are thought to have, and this is direct discrimination by perception. In all its 3 forms, direct discrimination could involve a decision not to employ someone, to dismiss them, withhold promotion or training, to offer poorer terms and conditions, or deny contractual benefits because of their protected characteristic. Indirect discrimination is usually less obvious and normally unintended. In law, it is where a provision, criterion, or practice involves all of the following. Firstly, it applies to everyone in a group of employees or job applicants, only some of whom share a certain protected characteristic. It has or will have the effect of putting those who share the protected characteristic at a particular disadvantage when compared to others without the characteristic in the group. It then puts them at that disadvantage. And lastly, the employer is unable to objectively justify it, and this is what the law calls showing it to be a proportionate means of achieving a legitimate aim. The Equality Act doesn't actually define what a provision, criterion, or practice is. However, it's most likely to include an employer's policies, procedures, requirements, rules, and arrangements, even if informal and whether written down or not. Examples might include recruitment selection criteria, contractual benefits, or any other workplace practice. Harassment is defined as unwanted conduct and must be related to a relevant protected characteristic or be of a sexual nature. Harassment has the effect of violating a person's dignity or creating an intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating, or offensive environment. This can include bullying, nicknames, jokes, banter, gossip, insults, and/or unwanted physical contact. It can be verbal, written, or physical. It's important to note that harassment is based on the victim's perception of the unwanted behaviour rather than that of the harasser. This means that by saying comments were just banter is no defence. Victimisation is when an employee suffers what the law calls a detriment, and this is something that causes disadvantage, damage, harm, or loss because of the employee has made an allegation of discrimination, they've supported a complaint of discrimination, or they've given evidence relating to a complaint about discrimination, or they've raised a grievance concerning equality or discrimination, and anything else done for the purpose of or in connection with the Equality Act, such as bringing an employment tribunal claim of discrimination. Victimisation may also occur because an employee is suspected of doing any one of these things, or it's believed they're going to do so. A detriment could be the employee being labelled a troublemaker, being left out and ignored, being denied training or promotion, or being made redundant because they've supported a discrimination claim. So every single one of us have what is known as protected characteristics, and these are aspects of our age and So every single one of us have what is known as protected characteristics. These are aspects of our identities, including our sex, age, and race, that the Equality Act makes it unlawful for others to discriminate against. There are 9 protected characteristics under the Equality Act 2010. The definitions of each characteristic can be found in the Moodle glossary, and we would recommend that you go and look at them. But let's take each in turn and highlight any specific points about each of the protected characteristics. First is age, and we should note that ordinary direct discrimination based on age is actually one of the rare cases where discrimination may be justified by law. And the easiest example to think of with this is the national minimum wage. So this is where 2 people may be doing the same job, both on minimum wage, but are paid differently because one is older and one is younger. A person has a disability if they have a physical or mental impairment which has a substantial and long-term adverse effect on that person's ability to carry out normal day-to-day activities. So this includes illnesses such as cancer and progressive conditions like multiple sclerosis. It's unlawful to treat a disabled person unfavourably because of something connected with their disability, for example, a tendency to make spelling mistakes due to dyslexia. Employers are accountable for making reasonable adjustments. These are changes and adaptations to the physical or working environment that removes or minimises the impact of the employee's impairment in the workplace. Gender reassignment refers to the process of transitioning from one gender to another. Previously under the Act, people reassigned in their gender had to be under medical supervision to be covered, but this is no longer the case. It's discriminatory to treat transgender people less favourably than others for being absent from work because they are about to undergo, are undergoing, or have undergone gender reassignment than they would be treated for being absent just because they were ill or injured. Both same-sex and opposite-sex couples can have their relationship legally recognised by marriage or civil partnership. Civil partners must not be treated less favourably than married couples. And we should note that single people and couples not in relationships legally recognised are not protected. As well as direct discrimination by perception or association, harassment because of this characteristic is not covered by the Equality Act. Pregnancy is a condition of being pregnant or expecting a baby. Maternity refers to the period after birth and is linked to maternity leave in the employment context. Protection against maternity discrimination is for 26 weeks after giving birth, and this includes treating a woman unfavourably because she's breastfeeding. We should note that for pregnancy and maternity, the protection is against unfavourable treatment as opposed to less favourable with the other characteristics. So this means that an employee or job applicant must not be disadvantaged because of her pregnancy or maternity without the need to compare to how someone else is treated. The Equality Act protects employees from discrimination, harassment and victimisation because of the protected characteristic of race. Race often includes different elements that often merge, including colour, ethnic origin, national origin and nationality. Religion refers to any religion, including a lack of religion, and similarly, belief refers to any religious or philosophical belief and includes a lack of belief. Generally, a belief should affect your life choices or the way you live for it to be included in the definition. Sex is assigned to someone on the basis of their primary sex characteristics and reproductive functions. Sometimes we can find that the terms sex and gender are interchanged to mean male or female, but we'll note that this is not the correct definitions. And again, have a look at the Moodle glossary if you're unsure. In UK law, sex is understood as being binary, with a person's legal sex being determined what is recorded on their birth certificate. If you're treated unfairly because you're a man or a woman, this is sex discrimination. It applies equally to men and women of any age, so it includes girls and boys. Sexual orientation refers to whether a person's sexual attraction is towards their own sex, the opposite sex, or both sexes. The Equality Act protects employees from discrimination, harassment, and victimisation based on the fact they're bisexual, heterosexual, or lesbian. It's important to remember that although the Equality Act breaks down individual protected characteristics as individual factors, Real people are multifaceted and may have different issues based on their whole selves and their intersecting identities. For example, a gay, white, Christian woman will have a different experience and face different barriers throughout her life than a gay, black, atheist man, although both of them identify as gay and may experience homophobia. This idea can be captured by the term intersectionality, the cumulative, complex manner in which the effects of different forms of discrimination combine, overlap, or intersect. To break that down, it essentially means that discrimination doesn't exist in a bubble. Different kinds of prejudice can be amplified in different ways when put together. This is something we should consider when we are thinking about barriers. Unique people have unique experiences. And we should also use caution when we're describing barriers. The Equality Act protects everyone based on their protected characteristics. However, we should note that the protected characteristics are not the problem. The structures and systems of power against them are. For example, women still experience gender-related issues such as the gender pay gap and sexual harassment. Being female is not a barrier in your career. The patriarchy is a barrier. And similarly, being black is not a barrier. White supremacy and racism that persists in our society is the barrier.